All right, welcome to class. Thanks for joining me in Drawing Faces, a beginner's guide. Now, before we get into the lesson itself, let's do a little overview of how the class is set up so you know what you're getting into, and talk a little bit about the tools you're going to need to participate in the class project. First of all, I designed the class to be taken in little chunks, so each day of the class is focusing on a single topic. And the topics build on what you learned previously. So I'm not going to throw you right into the task of having to draw a face at a 3/4 angle without first showing you how to place the features on the face so it's proportional. So everything builds on what you learned before. And hopefully it's done in such a way where the information makes sense and is sticking with you. So every time you sit down to pick up a pencil and draw a face, all these tips and this advice is going to come back to you in some subtle way and influence your work. That's the goal with the structure of this class. It begins on day one with looking at the placement of the features and how to communicate an expression through a two-dimensional, flat, forward-looking face. And I talk a bit about some of my influences in how I design and stylize my faces. On day two, we're going to get even more specific with features and details and talk about how to express variety of character and personality through traits like the shape of a jawline, the form of the ears, the shape of the nose, and styling of the hair. All the stuff that's actually really fun to draw and evokes personality in a character design. On day three, we level up to talking about dimension of a face, which means being able to turn and rotate and change the angle of your camera to draw faces that are a little more compelling than a flat two-dimensional face. That eases us into the topic of storytelling. Storytelling is all about telling an audience where to look and what to focus on. So based on all the skills we have, how do we make choices that create a character that's compelling, interesting to look at, and conveys some sense of a story? And that all builds towards that last day where we're creating a class project using all the things we've learned before. And of course, you're going to have your reference book here on hand to look at as you work. So you could print this out before you start the class if that helps you. Now let's talk about the tools you're going to need to participate in the class. Luckily, it's very simple. Anybody can participate in this class as long as they have a stack of paper on hand and a pencil and maybe an eraser if you need it. One sheet of paper is not going to do it because there's a lot of lessons here and a lot of things to practice. We're not creating one image. You're going to be drawing a lot of different things. So just get some cheap copy machine paper so you can participate in all the different exercises and techniques. Of course, that all builds towards a final project. For that, you could use a heavier sheet of paper, sketch with a pencil, ink over the top of it like I'll be doing on my tablet here. But for traditional tools, you could keep it really basic. Pencil, a Sharpie, and some paper. I'll be working here on my tablet using a program called Clip Studio Paint. Now, the desktop version is a more economically priced program than, let's say, like Photoshop or like the Creative Suite and having to get a whole subscription to it. Clip Studio Paint is designed for making comics. It's pretty popular, not as popular as something like Procreate or Photoshop, but it's specifically designed for cartoonists and graphic novelists. So I use it basically for everything I do. The tools are very similar to things you'll find in any other drawing program. You're allowed to make layers, you can reorganize them. You've got pencils and brush tools here, all that stuff. I'm not doing anything fancy with my software, so I don't really share any tips on that in this class. This is all about just picking up your pencil and practicing drawing faces. So that said, let's start on day one.